Hello everyone and welcome back to my workshop. I'm Diane Deziel and today I'm doing with you the front bodice block, and we will finalize putting the notch in the armhole and doing the jog for the darts. Now that we complete the back, we're going to do the front part. Now to do the front, the first thing we're going to do is going to be at the bust level. We're going to place from B4 4/20th of the bust measurement plus 5mm ease. For my example, 4/20th is 19 centimeter plus my 5mm ease is going to give me 19.5. That new point, we're going to call it B6. Now from that new point, B6, square from the bust line, we're going to trace towards the bottom and towards the top. We now have a new point, the intersection of the waist and the center front, and we're going to call it C5. The next step is going to be to find the height of the neck point for the front, but for that we have to go back on the back plan and we're going to measure from A1 prime. We're going to go up 1 centimeter. Then from the 1 centimeter, we'll be able to trace a line square from the center back all the way to the center front. That point is going to be called A1 prime prime. Now on the front, we also have a new point because we have the intersection of those two lines. And that new point, we're going to call it A7. Now we have to find the width of the neck in the front. So from A7, we're going to measure 1/20th of the bust measurement plus 2.25 centimeter. For my example, it's going to be 4.75 centimeter plus 2.25. It's going to give me a width of 7 centimeter. This new point, we're going to call it A6. We're now going to place the measurement for the depth of the neck on the front. I'm going to measure down from A7, 1/20th of the bust plus 2.75 centimeter. For my example, 4.75 plus 2.75 for a total of 7.5. And this point is called A8. Now from A6, we're going to square down until pretty much the level of A8. And we'll square also a line from A8 pretty much at the level of A6. Now this intersection is going to be called A8 prime. Now we're going to place a reference so we could trace the front neckline by tracing from A7 to A8 prime, and we're going to divide that new segment by 3. Now we'll go back at the bust level. From the point B4, we're going to square a line towards the top. This point is called A4. Now from that new point A4, I'm going to measure towards the front 1/20th of the bust measurement plus 2 centimeter. And this new point, I'm going to call it A5. For my example, 1/20th is 4.75 plus 2 centimeter. It's going to be 6.75. Now again from that A4 point, I'm going to measure this time towards the bottom, 1/20th of the bust measurement. Again for my example, it's 4.75. And this new point is going to be called A4 prime. Now we're going to trace the shoulder line starting at point A5, and we're going to pass by the point A4 prime to give the angle. So you're going to trace and extend it towards the left. Now right away we could place the shoulder measurement, that is for my example 12 centimeter, and we're also going to indicate the middle of the shoulder at 6 centimeter for my example. The point at the end of the shoulder measurement is going to be called A4 prime prime. Now we're going to place a little reference so we could trace the front armhole. by measuring the segment A4B4 divided by 3, and we're going to place the first third from B4 towards the top. That new point at the first third from the B4 is going to be called B4 prime. Then we could trace a first straight line for the top part of the armhole from A1 prime prime to B4 prime. Now we go back on the bust line. From B6, we're going to positionate the apex. So we're going to measure half apex to apex measurement. And for my example, it's going to be 9.25 centimeter. That new point is going to be called B5. Then from that B5 point, we could trace a square down towards the waist. And that line is going to be the center of the waist dart. At the waist, we get a new point that is going to be point C4. Now we found the level of the apex, but we still have to find the vertical level for the apex, and this should be a centimeter lower than the point B5. So we'll measure it, and that point is going to be called B5 prime. Now we'll trace the line that's going to allow us to do the shoulder dart. So from B5 prime, we're going to trace until A6, another line until A5, and finally a third line that's going to reach the middle of the shoulder. We're going to complete the dart work with the waist dart. That is going to be a total of 4 centimeters. So we have to measure 2 cm on each side of the point C4. And those two new points, we're going to connect them with the B5 prime point. Now we could complete the waist for the front. So we're going to use the 1/4 front waist that we got from a little calculation plus the 4 centimeter dart. For my example, my front quarter waist was 18.75 plus the 4 cm. It gives me a total of 22.75. That point, we're going to call it C3. Now we could connect the C3 with the B3. Now I just wanted to come back for the front quarter waist measurement. The calculation to find your front 1/4 waist measurement is 1/4 of the full waist measurement plus 0.75 because we did move the side seam plus 5 millimeter ease. That's how I got my 1/4 front waist measurement. And that's it. The front bodice is complete also. We're now going to do the curve for the armhole and the neckline. I'm going to start with the curve line of the front neck. What we want to do is connect the A8 to the bottom third of the diagonal line all the way to A6. And what I suggest is that from A8 you keep about 5 millimeters square with your center front. Now we're going to do the top part of the armhole, and we're going to do just like we did in the back. So find the middle even by highs from B4 prime to A4 prime prime and go in about 3 millimeters. Then using your French curve, you could connect these 3 points. Now for the bottom part of the armhole, we're going to do like we did for the back, tracing a little square, maybe 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. Then you're going to join the two opposite corners with a diagonal line. On that line from B4, you're going to measure about 2.5 centimeter, and again it's just a reference measurement for you. It all depends on the size of the block that you're doing. Now that we have the 3 reference that we need, so the B4 prime, the 2.5 centimeter on the diagonal line, and the B3, we could connect the 3 points to trace the bottom part of the armhole. Now we're going to place the notch for the armhole, but before to do the official technique, I just want to let you know that you could also just look at your curve and place your notch at the first third from the underarm point, just like that, by highs, back and front, and it would do the same thing. The important is when you report your notch, you do it with accuracy onto your sleeve. Now the official way to position the notch is by measuring the segment A4 prime to B4. First you divide it by 4 and you're going to place the 1/4 from B4 towards the top. Then the same measurement you divide it by 3 and again you measure from B4 1/3 up. Now you could see my 1/4 and my 1/3, and the notch is simply going to be right halfway between those two reference points. Then to position the notch in the back armhole, you're going to simply put your square on this line that we just measured at the middle point, and you're going to report the level on the back. Then put your notch, one of them 5 millimeter towards the bottom and the second one 5 millimeter towards the top. Now on the front, what I suggest is that you reposition the dart that is now right next to the neckline. I suggest you pivot it to place it right in the middle of the shoulder, so you have the princess line bodice. So to pivot the dart, I'm going to ask you to cut on this line A5 to B5 prime and from the middle of the shoulder to B5 prime. Now when both lines are cut, you're going to place another piece of paper under your plan. Then you're going to take that triangle that you just cut and pivot it until the A5 point touch the A6 point right next to the neck and shoulder point. And this way you have your dart right in the middle of the shoulder. Now we could just glue the paper in position. To finalize the block, we have one last thing to do, which is to close every of the 4 darts so we could get the jug or the arrow of the dart. And for all of them, we do it the same way. We're going to fold the first side, the closest to the center front or back, and we're going to bring that line over the last one or the closer to the side seam. Once your folds are done, you could, if you want, just soften a tiny little bit the waistline. Then using your tracing wheel, you just trace your jug. Now don't forget to do that for all 4 darts, even on the back. The same way if it's the waist dart or the shoulder dart. When you do fold your dart, don't be scared to go further, it's just going to help you. Then when you bring the first side over the second one, you could just hold your pivot for a little while, just like that, and then you're ready to trace. Here, if the bottom part is bothering you, you could just remove it, it's no problem, we don't need it anymore. There you go, you just have to try your muslin before doing the sleeve construction. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching and I see you next time.